everyone. My name is Don K. Preston. I am the president of Preterist Research Institute of Ardmore, Oklahoma. Welcome to Preston's Ponderings. Well, we're taking a look at the fascinating figure of John the Baptizer. I have made the statement. I believe it is absolutely undeniably true. John the Baptizer, other than Jesus and Paul, is the most significant eschatological figure in the New Testament. Yet, as I've already noted, he is the most ignored eschatological figure. Now, why do I say that John is the most significant eschatological figure in the New Testament? Well, let's look at it like this. Isaiah chapter 40, verses 1 to 3, says, "Behold, a voice crying in the wilderness, prepare ye the way of the Lord, make straight a highway for our God." The voice that is being predicted here would prepare the way for the coming of the Lord. Well, what does that have to do with John? Well, in Mark chapter 1, verses 1 to 3, we are emphatically, specifically, and unambiguously told that John the Baptizer was the voice predicted by Isaiah. Okay? Jesus himself tells us that John was the one foretold by both Isaiah and Malachi chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. Jesus said of John, "This is he of whom it was written, Behold, I send my messenger before you. He shall prepare the way before you." There's no question about who John was. He was the voice. He was the messenger. Again, this is just beyond doubt. This is not even debatable. Okay, now watch this. He was the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare the way of the Lord. What coming of the Lord did John prepare for? Or, to phrase it another way, what coming of the Lord was the voice to prepare the people for? Well, the answer is found in Isaiah chapter 40, verse 10 and 11. Read with me. "Behold, the Lord shall come with a strong hand, and his arm shall rule for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his work before him." Is there any doubt about the nature of this coming of the Lord that the voice crying in the wilderness would prepare for? This is not the incarnation. This is not Jesus' coming as an humble servant. "A bruised flax shall he not break," Isaiah 42. No. This is the judgment coming of the Lord. Thus, the voice crying in the wilderness would prepare for the judgment coming of the Lord. But John was the voice of one crying in the wilderness. And what did John say about the judgment that he was to prepare the people for as the voice of one crying in the wilderness? Well, in Matthew chapter 3, the Pharisees and the Sadducees come out to John to be baptized of him. He knew of their insincerity, and thus he said, "Who has warned you to flee from the wrath that is about to come?" About to come. He then said in Matthew chapter 3, 10 to 12, that the axe, we'll have more to say about that later, the axe of what? The axe of judgment is already at the root. His, that is Jesus's, winnowing fork, that's the imagery of harvest, that's the imagery of judgment in which the wheat would be separated from the tare. His winnowing fork is already in his hand. We have three distinct, undeniable images and statements of the nearness of the judgment that John was proclaiming. But wait, he was the voice of one crying in the wilderness, prepare for the coming of the Lord. But the coming of the Lord would be in judgment. John was the voice and said judgment was coming very, very soon. By the way, the voice was not to prepare for two judgments. He was to prepare for the coming of the Lord in judgment. His reward is with him, and his work before him. We'll have more to say about that in our next segment. Thanks for joining me for Preston's Ponderings. We'll see you on the flip side.